Welcome to Plastic Model Mojo, a podcast dedicated to scale modeling, as well as the news and events around the hobby, where we hope to be informative and entertaining and help you keep your modeling mojo alive. Man, Dave, I hope you're tired as I am, but we're back for episode 45 of Plastic Model Mojo, and we're fresh back from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Yes, we are. I'm telling you, there's nothing like a national to get your mojo going, man. I am telling you, it was a great time, and folks will hear as they listen to this episode what a great time it was.
Well, on that regard, what's been going on in your model sphere? I guess we know.
Yeah, I guess we know. I got a super injection of mojo because that's exactly what the Nationals is for me. It was really interesting to talk to the folks there and catch up with people and meet new people face to face for the first time. The interesting thing to me about the Nationals is you go there and you look at all these great models and you have two opposite thoughts at the same time. Thought one is, oh my God, these people do this so much better than I do. I will never get any better. I'm quitting the hobby. And at the exact same moment, you have oh, that's cool. I want to try that. Ooh, that's a neat idea. I want to do that. And I always come away from the Nationals with the mojo flowing. It's no exception this time. How about you?
Oh, a lot of the same stuff. I mean, we had a great time. It was 4 fabulous days, more or less, I guess, wasn't it? 4 nights,
Yep.
3 days, something like that.
Yep.
It's all run together.
Yes, it has.
We put a little guest registry out, and of all the people that came by, 58 of them managed to sign the registry.
Yeah.
There's a lot from the West Coast area, but they're from just about everywhere, including not in the contiguous 48. We've got everybody from the East Coast all the way to Honolulu, Hawaii.
Yes, we did. And Honolulu, that was a nice little surprise.
That was. I'll mention that too. We've got some very generous gift givers among our listeners. We got some good candy from Hawaii. We got some bourbon from Utah. We got some swag from our buddies over on the Plastic Posse podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just appreciate all that. It was really, really interesting to hear what folks had to say and having them come by the table. We had a great table location.
Yes, we did. Absolutely. It was wonderful to have people circulating through the vendor's room, see our table, and people made a point of stopping by to talk to us about the podcast, and that was wonderful.
Oh yeah! So everybody who came by the table, thank you so much. It's a lot of fun to get your comments and your insight and your suggestions and all that stuff. So
yeah, and keep them coming.
Keep them coming. We're going to implement a few of these things we heard about, I'm sure, and some topics and some things we haven't covered that thought folks would like to hear. So hopefully in the remainder of this year, we'll get some of that done. Don't know if we'll get through all of it, but we'll get some of it going anyway.
Yep. Yes, indeed. Mike, what's your modeling fluid of choice tonight?
I'm having a solid pour of dihydrogen monoxide.
What a coincidence! I'm drinking agua fresca,
and also known as an oxidanes,
also known as H2O
or common water.
Gee, I wonder why both you and I tonight might be drinking water as our modelsphere, our modeling fluid.
I think I drank tonight's modeling fluid Thursday or Friday, probably.
Probably. I
wouldn't say we overdid it, but there were some lubricated conversations throughout the week there.
Yes, not to make it sound like a bacchanal. We had tons of folks in our hotel room each night, and they were liberally consuming some modeling fluid as well. So ultimately, in the scheme of things, it was not bad, but certainly worth taking a little bit of a break, hydrating a little bit to get back in top form.
Especially because we were on Pacific time and 3 hours behind of where we
Yes.
came from, and late nights in Vegas are really late nights for some guys on Eastern time.
Yes, it is. The problem is that you also pop awake at 6 o'clock local time.
I know. So, what about you? Same thing, water?
I am drinking H2O, agua fresca, the elixir of life. I figured I'd take a little break, maybe just recharge so that in the modeling sessions that are coming up, and believe me, there will be modeling sessions coming up because I'm fired up. So I thought I'd give myself Mr. Liver a little break tonight. He deserves it. He was good. He held up his end.
Well, Dave, have you done any modeling since you've been home?
As a matter of fact, no. But I'm hoping to do a little tonight after we record. Most of yesterday afternoon and evening was unpacking and getting out all the goodies and trying to get some organization into this mess. But if I'm lucky, there'll be a little bit of modeling tonight. How about you?
I don't know if I'll get any tonight, and I've not done anything else other than the same things you've done. But I did go and get some basswood to replace the gaff from the week before the Nationals. So I'm going to get the Zis base rolling again here this week. Maybe
Good.
make some good progress.
Yeah, well, I expect to see that Zis wrapped up soon, just like my M30 better be wrapped up soon.
Well, just to clue folks in, we're going to do things a little different tonight. We recorded some segments while we are at the Nationals. Some of them I think hopefully you'll enjoy all of them, but we're going to kind of take a break from the normal format and kind of talk around some of these segments and just have a 2021 IPMS National Convention recap. Does that sound like a good idea, Dave?
Yep, perfect.
Well, first up is that little reunion I planned with my old buddy Mike Idacavage, and we met him early on, first day of the show. He was volunteering at the registration desk, as he's renowned for doing, and he came by for a little table time the next day, or maybe it was that day. I don't really remember at this point.
They all run together, man.
Well, let's get into that. This is a reunion with an old friend. Well, Dave, we got an old friend from a long time ago sitting here with us tonight, helping out with the contest here with registration this morning. We ran into my old friend Mike Idacavage from a long time ago. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Oh, it's great to be here. Great to see you, and great to meet you there, Dave, after you're just being this disembodied voice for so many months on my podcast that I listen to.
Thank you.
So to give the listeners some background, I'm from East Tennessee originally, Johnson City, Tennessee, and we started an IPMS chapter there in about 1985, of which Mike was one of the founding members. There were about a half dozen of us when we started. I got roped into being treasurer, and I was underage. I did not meet the age requirement to be an IPM treasurer, but we had to have the officers' slots filled to form the chapter.
Yep.
And just some great times, Mike, and I'm really glad to reconnect with you and to see you after all these years, because I don't think I've seen you since 1987.
I think you're right about that, and it's amazing how things evolve where we started from back then, and here you are, a famous celebrity.
I don't know how famous I am, but we commented earlier before we started recording how it's great that we're both still in the hobby.
Yeah.
Because those years I was a teenager, just had a driver's license, and was bringing myself to the meetings and down to the model shop, the hobby shop there in Johnson City, and going to model shows with you guys. In today's world, I guess parents would ask, man, who does all these guys you're going across state lines with and all this stuff? It might have a little different, people are a little more protective now, but my mom had met John from the model shop down there, and I guess she figured everybody was harmless, but it was good times.
Yeah,
and,
it sure was. And in fact, I was trying to recollect once we first connected what type of models you were really interested in. Because I remember you being interested in a pretty wide range.
Well,
back then.
I was building armor then, and I was into
okay.
model railroading some as well. But for that IPMS chapter, it was all tanks and trucks and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Okay, yeah.
Well, I brought something along for a little nostalgia.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, I got to see this.
See if you
here.
remember this.
Let me see.
It's a little yellow. Here you go.
Oh, outstanding. It's the IPMS Southern Appalachian Scale Milers 1987 contest. Experimentals and prototypes, which, by the way, I was guilty of coming up
You
with that.
came up with that as our very first show, because in fact, there's a blurb in there about
outstanding. Oh, all right, time machine.
That's right.
Here.
And I was showing Dave, also penciled in there as somewhere as a tow cable layout for a model I was working on at the time, which I still have, by the way.
Yeah, but you haven't finished it, so.
Well, Mike, you were into real space at that time.
Yeah, which is why the experimental prototypes and stuff, that's why it fit in there. So I am impressed. And you could tell you are a true modeler.
Because I kept it.
You kept it. You kept
I kept
everything.
it because it was the first thing I've got
That is
a keepsake
amazing.
box I've had since I was a teenager.
Yeah.
And it's been in it since 1987.
I think I'm going to bribe you with a modeling fluid to see if you can make a Xerox copy sometime in the future.
Only after we sign it. The both of us sign it. I'm dead serious, and we'll
You're
copy it and
serious?
I'll send it to
Okay,
you.
no, I'm serious about that. That is awesome on there.
That was fun. And I just remember, go ahead, Dave.
Now, Mike, do we have any embarrassing photos or stories of about Mike? Because if there is,
Which Mike? Me?
Yeah. If you've got some stories or photos, incriminating photos of Mr. Basquette there,
We're probably safe there.
I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
we can get top dollar for those.
You
things.
know, I do believe we probably took a few photos, especially in those early days, but I'm going to have to dig them up out of the vault there.
It'd be interesting to see if you
yeah.
do.
Yeah, if you can come up with an old contest photo where Mike's a teenager with a fro, or he's bedazzled his jeans or something like
No,
that.
I was
Remember,
top dollar.
We were
This-
modelers, Dave.
Yeah, and this was East Tennessee. It's bib overalls.
Yeah,
Because you could put your X-Acto knife right in that front pocket
Yeah, just like
there.
the club logo. I can't remember who drew it. But. Well, I remember, I remember a lot of stuff from them. I remember your old Subaru.
Man, you have a better memory than I do.
Well,
on
it
those
gets
things.
better. I remember that you put the sunroof in it.
Yes, you did. Oh, no, that is really impressive there.
And we
Yep,
used to
you're
go
right.
to Charlotte and Salisbury and Asheville.
All over the place.
all over
We
North
had
Carolina.
some, as a group, we did some pretty long road trips. It was pretty good, and everybody got along well.
Yeah, it's
You
good
know,
times.
Yeah,
Good
it
times.
worked out well.
Well, what are you
that.
doing for this show? You helped with the registration desk. According to Joe Porche, you were quite a fixture. You are quite a fixture in the IPMS. That's what he called you. And they missed you on the West Coast.
Yeah, I came in at the last IPMS National, so the 2019 in Chattanooga. On there, I was not the overall contest coordinator like Bob is for this one, but I was responsible for the contest itself. On that, so
Okay, that's a big job.
You did a good job. That was a great.
Thank you. We had a lot of models got in there.
That was a fantastic
I missed
show.
that one.
And one thing you may not know, if you missed, the audience missed, is that 4 a.m. on Thursday, I ended up ordering 100 tables from Atlanta. We drove them up and we installed 100 more tables
Oh, wow.
into the contest. Well, probably 60 were crammed in. We had a little
Something
bit
like
left
that
over.
might go down here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it may. I think it may on that one. So there was a lot goes
Because this
behind
one's
the
getting
scenes.
kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so for this one, I've been helping over the years the registration. So I came in Tuesday, helped set up, help set up, but work on, get a position. Then all day yesterday, registering and part of today.
So back in the day, you were doing mostly real space kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, and I do a lot of that. Still a big interest. Right, and I don't know, Mike, if you remember when I was in Kingsport toward the end, and I can't remember if I told anybody. I was an astronaut candidate. I had applied to be an astronaut.
Oh, really?
and
No, I
went
didn't know that.
Yeah,
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I don't know if I had told.
Maybe you didn't tell anybody. Yeah, in case you didn't make it.
Mainly, and here I am. So things worked out well. Yeah, probably. I just can't remember. I don't think I kind of advertised that I was interviewing with NASA.
Oh, wow.
And then I find out after I did that is that they never take anybody on their first application. It's usually 3. It's the average astronaut has applied 3 times. And by then I was moved on to doing what I do now.
Okay.
Being a scientist, 3D printing, things like that.
Sounds good.
So
Go ahead, Dave. You had something?
Dave.
Do you you still do real space these days, or what's your model interest these days?
Well, there's only one really true scale, 72nd.
Thank you.
On that one,
Yes.
a nod. And,
Yes.
and I also had, unfortunately, I've been corrupted by your podcast, and I did a T34.
Dave won't tell
Yeah,
anybody.
no, I won't, because I will tell you, admittedly, I've got a 72nd scale T34 that's on the shelf of shame, and the T34 is just a really neat looking tank. I can understand why anybody would go, I'm not a tank guy, but I'm interested in building that.
Well, what are you working on now, Mike?
Let's see. What I have is a quarter scale NASA F-104.
Quarter scale is 1/48 for folks who are
sorry
not our
about
age.
that. I'm still old school occasionally on that one. So yeah, 1/48. Science fiction. So I have the a car from the Blade Runner, which if we were driving, I just finished that about a week or so ago.
Okay.
So with on that, and I go do airline. I have an airliner and a Russian S-300.
Grumble.
Grumble, yeah. 72nd though.
Yes.
So,
Cool.
working on model collect kits. So I do still a pretty wide range. Life
So
is
did
too
you bring
short
much
to
for
know.
this show?
No, TSA always would probably give me a dirty look, so it's
Okay.
just-
well,
just
mine
that
got a little
small.
bit damaged. I got to fix it before we get it on the
Oh,
table.
no.
I brought one.
What'd you bring?
It's I built that old Airfix Morris tractor and Bofors 40 millimeter anti tank
nice.
gun. I built that kit as a kid, pre Tennessee Model Club. I mean, as a kid.
Okay, and is this the same kit?
It's the same kit. It's a newer one,
right.
but it's the same.
Oh,
kit.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. I
He
thought.
did it as a nostalgia build.
And I'm going to do another one.
Yeah. I wonder if we get to see his fingerprint on the.
No, he did.
I did a lot better
a
job.
Yes.
I think the other one just had the tires painted black and the decals put on it. That was it. Pretty much it. Well, on the theme of shows,
Sure.
You're with the Atlanta Club,
Correct. Yeah.
and we would like to plug your show on the podcast. So
Great.
let us know about the Atlanta Con for 2021.
Usually, we've been having shows there for years, and they're quite well attended because in Atlanta, you're at the crossroads of a lot of areas, whether it's people coming down from Tennessee, Carolina,
Right.
Alabama. So and it's right, literally about 5 minutes off I-75, so a big interstate.
Right.
Very easy to get to. It's a big, open, good facility, and we were holding it. I remember the date, October 23rd. We moved it around because of COVID a couple times, so I want to make sure I gave you the right date. October 23rd. We will have a pretty good suite of vendors there because, again, we've had a reputation of really bringing quite a lot of people. We tend to be one of the better. Again, we're lucked out with a very good chapter, IPMS chapter there. So we do that in conjunction with. I'm the IPMS Marietta chapter, the IPMS Atlanta. So we really. A lot of the people you saw at Nationals, 2019 Nationals, half of that were our chapters.
Okay.
So it's those same people.
So multi-chapter effort.
Multi-chapter,
there
but we're so used to
Chattanooga's
working.
host.
Yeah, so
Okay.
used to working together, so it goes off pretty smoothly. So, pretty wide range of categories. It's actually a little bit like a mini Nationals.
Okay.
So we have a lot, whether it's armor, space, a lot of cars. Very, very popular.
Yeah, very
It's,
popular down that way. Atlanta,
on there.
North Carolina, South Carolina.
No, and there's some pretty good modelers in the area, so you'll get to see
I'm
some
sure.
really nice stuff.
There were nice modelers back in the day from that area.
Yeah.
Some fun times.
So really like to encourage people. It's pretty good. Our theme is Operation Desert Storm.
Okay.
We usually try to keep it just one and let
Right.
people focus on really what they like to build
Gotcha.
on there.
What the website for the show is www.ipms-atlanta.org. I assume that somebody can go to that website and get all of the information about location, times, contest costs, all of that sort of
Yeah,
thing.
that's correct. That's
Good.
correct. And there's contact information if you have a particular question. They ask that isn't there. Just send an email and we'll get right back to you.
Great. That's fantastic.
All right. Well, Mike, great to see you again. We'll talk
Same
some
here.
more off air, I'm sure. We're going to sign this old
outstanding.
show flyer.
Looking
I'll get you a
forward to that.
copy and enjoy this little reunion. So
Okay, it was great
thanks
to
for
hear
stopping by, man.
And,
Okay.
and again, if you come up with any incriminating pictures,
Oh,
we'll fundraise. We'll crowdsource.
I'm now motivated to
That's
find
right.
out.
That's
and,
right.
and there's
That's
always
right.
the magic of Photoshop.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. You can make fake news about me.
All right.
All right. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Well, Dave, that was really great. I really enjoyed that, and I need to send Mike that old show program we signed from our
Yeah,
from our invitational way back when in 1987. I can't believe I still had that. Neither could he.
I was going to say, his reaction when you pulled that thing out was just absolutely priceless. It was worth the price of admission. Now, I am hoping that he locates some teenage pictures of you as a teenage model geek. If he does, and if he sends them to me, I will definitely be sure that they make the Facebook page.
All right. Well, hopefully he doesn't find any.
Oh, come on. I want to see you with a fro and bedazzled jeans and the whole 9 yards.
We'll see what happens.
All right. Let me take a moment out here to ask everybody, when you're done listening to this episode, if you would take a minute at the end of the episode and go to whatever podcast app you're listening to us on, Stitcher, whatever, and give us a rating. We'd appreciate 5 stars. It helps the podcast become more visible. In addition, if you know a modeler who's not listening to our podcast, who isn't into podcasting, who doesn't know what podcasts are, if you'd help them out, show them how to get our podcast and get them listening, we'd appreciate it. That's really how the listenership grows. And we had several people come by the table who had with somebody or on their own to tell us that someone had gotten them listening to our show. So we appreciate that. Please keep it up.
And while you're rating our show, hopefully the others too, you can find all the great podcast content over on our consortium website, modelpodcast.com. You can find links to all the other podcasts. And hopefully soon, if not already, I haven't checked in a while, Stuart from over at Scale Model Podcast will start getting our blog friends up there as well. So be sure to check that out at modelpodcast.com. And also don't forget to check out our blog and YouTube friends, as well as the podcast. We got Chris Wallace with Model Airplane Maker out of Canada, and we just about gave all your stickers away, Chris.
Almost.
And then we've got Mr. Stephen Lee, and with his blog Sprue Pie with Frets. He's got a great blog there. You can get all kinds of interesting content in the model sphere from Stephen. Jeff Groves, Mr. Inch Eye Guy, all things 72nd scale. I was kind of hoping he might have come to the Nationals, but I guess he couldn't swing it or thought wise.
A little too far.
A little too far for he. Really? We went further than him.
No, he lives slightly to the east of us. If you go north, he lives slightly to the east of us.
Well, maybe next time, Jeff. And finally, Jim Bates, our friend from the West Coast. You can check out his Scale Canadian TV vlog and his YouTube channel. It's not right.
No, blog and YouTube channel. You got it.
All right. Well, I'm kind of flying off the cuff here.
That's all right. Finally, if ever there was a reason to join IPMS USA or your IPMS national organization, the last 4 days showed why. The national convention would never occur, and a convention of that size would never occur without IPMS USA. And IPMS USA doesn't exist without all of the volunteers who step up to either help run the national organization throughout the year and also show up at a convention and not only enjoy it, but work to help others enjoy it. I hope some of you stop by the business meeting on Saturday morning. Luckily, I was there and nobody threw rotten fruit, so that's probably a sign that we're doing pretty good. I know our membership is back up to a 5 or 6 year high, and that's because a lot of you guys have joined. Please, if you haven't joined, please join the national. Mike, one of the great things about going to a national is you get to meet up with your friends that don't live near you, that you only interact with online. It's the one time of year you get to see many of those folks. And we got to see friend of the podcast, Jim Bates. Jim went out to the nationals from Tacoma, and he got a special treat because he got to take a quick trip and tour out to Nellis to what they call it, the Threat Collection, but it's colloquially known as the petting zoo. And so Jim got a chance in the morning to go out and take a tour of the petting zoo and then come back and tell us about it and his other experiences at the Nationals. Why don't we give that a listen?
All right. Well, here it goes. Well, Dave, we're in day 2 now of the National Convention here.
Yep.
And
Friday afternoon, and man,
I'm starting to get a little tired.
What are you talking about, man? I'm on a plastic contact high.
I guess so.
This
Well,
is-
somebody else here is on a high too right now. Jim Bates from Scale Canadian TV has sat down here to join us, and he's just come back from a fun little side trip. Tell us about your side trip there.
Well, I got excited to work out a deal to go over to the petting zoo.
Tell us what the petting zoo is.
I think the petting zoo is technically called the Nellis. I've got it on my phone.
The Nellis Threat
Yeah, hold on.
Assessment something. Hang on.
I did this on purpose because I knew I would forget. The Threat Training Facility, which is all the Russian gear, both inside and out. And being a big MiG fan, I just sat in 2 MiG-23s and a MiG-29.
And an Mi-24, right?
And an Mi-24 and a T-55.
Yes.
And it's a little warm outside in the T-55, but
I imagine it's warm in any of that stuff.
Yeah.
oh man.
Yep.
Luckily the MiGs were inside.
So,
But
did
they've
you
got,
enjoy it?
Oh, one of the coolest things ever. I keep saying, as a kid of the Cold War, I read about all this stuff, and it's crazy to be 20, 30 years later sitting in Nevada, sitting in one.
Yep. I've happened to have been a couple of times previously, and it's just the most fun you can have with your clothes on.
I agree.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, and that turquoise blue is something.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
Seemed to be a common theme on the inside of all that stuff, except
Yeah.
the tanks.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I was taken aback by something that Chris Wallace said when he was building the Hind, is how iconic that was of our youth, because it was in Rambo and Red Dawn and all these fake
yeah.
Hinds
Yeah.
everywhere.
Oh yeah.
And I got to see one fly 5-6 years ago at Yuma, Arizona. It was just amazing to see one flying in America, and we weren't being invaded. It was
Yes. Yeah.
And to sit in one was just as cool.
And
Well,
when
to
you-
do that, now you got to go get a Puma kit and convert it into a
Right.
stand-in hind A.
There you go.
when you saw it flying, did you raise a fist and scream Wolverines?
I did. Which brings up the question, should you see the second Red Dawn or not?
No.
I've never seen the second one.
No, you should not.
Well, that's the North Koreans.
Yeah, the
right?
North Koreans invading the U.S. Come on, guys. Just because you don't want to tick off the Chinese.
Well, Jim, what else you been doing? You been spending a lot of money in this big freaking sea of plastic?
You
out
know,
here?
I was doing okay till today. Yesterday was de Havilland Day, picked up a couple de Havilland types. And today I have lost my mind and bought a 3D printed World War I tank, which is wicked cool.
Well, I've talked to him, and we're gonna have him over here sometime later this afternoon to talk about his business. Cause
Yeah, that seems cool.
You see a lot of these little niche 3D print things going on out here on the floor, but that guy's got not just a couple of full kits, but he's got like 10 tables.
He's
10
put-
tables worth of stuff.
Right, he's putting out on an industrial scale.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
And
Which
both-
surprises me because a lot of people 3D print, and I'll probably ask him about this, but print the masters and then resin cast it.
Right.
Yeah.
He's not doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I got a few questions for him.
Yeah. I'm
that was-
interested.
That was cool, and they look pretty nice. So
Have you been into the model room today?
I have not been in the model room today. That's my next stop. I know when I left last night, it was impressive.
It is even more impressive. Mike and I took our stuff in first thing this morning, and I am positive that they will set a record on the number of models entered. They are space challenged. I think they'll manage to get everything on the table without too much difficulty, but it's not like there's going to be a lot of empty dead tables.
Well, they gave up on the Saturn V.
Yes, they put it on the floor.
I can't decide if it makes me want to quit or inspires me to
does
do
both.
better.
It does both at the exact same. That's
Yeah.
the dichotomy of the Nationals. You walk through the model room, and there is half of your brain that going, I can never do this. I'm quitting. That's it, etc. And the other half of your brain is like, oh my God, I want to do that. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
How did he do that? I got to find and talk to him or her, or whatever. So both of those things happen at once. But I do know that when I leave the Nationals and go home, every single time I go home and have a building spree or painting spree or finishing spree. It inspires me to complete models.
And this may be styrene heaven, but I'm not even here for the styrene. I'm here for the people.
Yes.
And there have been many wonderful dinners, after dinner drinks. I have, once again, as an attorney, never passed a bar.
Exactly.
At the Nationals. So.
He'll be here all week.
Yes, exactly.
You can find me on YouTube at
right, a Scale Canadian TV, and also the 9 o'clock show is completely different than the 7 o'clock show. But
and as your attorney, I advise you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No, Jim's absolutely right. As much as the world's largest traveling hobby shop and getting to go see great models, the real fun thing here is getting together in groups. Modelers, because we all have this common language, there's an immediate rapport when you sit down with a group of guys, even if you've never met them in person before, only interacted online. All of a sudden, it's just immediate rapport, immediate gel, and it's fantastic time.
Well, the crazy story is how I ended up at the petting zoo. Is since this has been going on, I've been trying to get to the petting zoo for a couple of years and not knowing the right military people. And the posse guys were looking at going, and I was trying to beg them for an extra seat, and they didn't have room. And then I'm in the model room looking at models. John Nowak, IPMS USA president, comes up. We had known each other a long time ago, and we were both in Ohio. And the guy who's standing with him said, "Oh, you like MiGs?" Because I was giving John a hard time because he's got his picture, his profile pic is in front of the MiG-23 at the Air Force Museum. And then he said, "Oh, you like MiGs? You want to go to the petting zoo tomorrow?" And I'm like, "Yes."
Who do I have to kill?
So it's like, I was ready to kill one of the posse members and able
Right.
to get to go because they said if I murdered one, I could go. But then that'd mess up their show.
Yeah, I know.
Well, speaking of those guys, TJ came by earlier, TJ Haller from the Posse, and we did that segment with him in our last episode in 44, and we kind of joked around that maybe he was worried we'd oversold this. Yeah, I think he's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he told me he was good. So.
Well, and your first nationals, as I've told a number of listeners who stopped by at our table and come by to talk to us, your first nationals is always special because you can't experience all of this for the first time again. So, and it's great for the guys who are here because this one is a super impressive national. So their first memory, the one that they're always going to remember, is going to be one of the really great ones.
You make me sad every time you say that because I don't have great memories of my first nationals because it was like I was 15. It was Dayton in 88. So I was in high school, so I was driven there. My parents were there. Everybody was probably trying to get me from stopping to buy models. So I count my true first nationals probably Columbus sometime in the 90s.
Yeah.
Well, no, it was Columbus right after I took the bar exam, so Columbus 97.
Yep.
Well, count that your first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might.
It's like your second virginity.
Yeah. I took a nationals purity challenge.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All right.
He wore a promise ring. You don't want to know where.
Okay.
This has got off the rails very fast.
This has.
Yeah.
Well, let's go enjoy some stuff.
That sounds great to
All
me,
right.
man.
All right, thanks, guys.
Dave, quite a few folks we know got to go out there. I kind of wish we did too, but we had plenty going on. I don't think I had a less of a time at the Nationals because I didn't get to go, but boy, everybody that went was really excited. It's fun to see.
It is one of those things that, because of its rarity and because it isn't any sort of museum, it's an actual working training facility for the Air Force, that there's stuff there that you don't see anywhere else, and they're not the normal museum rules. You get to climb in stuff and climb on stuff, and I've been there thanks to my brother. I was there at least 3 times, and it's just it's awesome. So I know how excited Jim was to finally get to go, especially since we didn't think anybody was going to be able to get out there.
Well, Dave, we ought to take a little break here and get a word from our sponsor, Model Paint Solutions.
Good idea.
Plastic Model Mojo is now brought to you by Model Paint Solutions, your source for Harder Steenbeck airbrushes, David Union power tools, and laboratory-grade mixing, measuring, and storage tools for use with all your model paints, be they acrylic, enamels, or lacquers. Check them out at www.modelpaintsolutions.com.
Well, speaking of Model Paint Solutions and Dr. Strange Brush, John Miller is soliciting questions from the listenership for the next installment of Dr. Strange Brush. So those can be sent to us here at Plastic Model Mojo by email at plasticmodelmojo@gmail.com, or you can send them to John directly via his email provided on his Model Paint Solutions website, and I believe that's modelpaintsolutions.com.
Yes.
If you have a topic that you would like to have discussed, please send that to us or him, and we'll be collecting those and kind of distill them down into groups of related topics so he can talk about those and hopefully answer some more specific questions for you folks.
And I can't tell you the number of people who did stop by the table and tell us how much they enjoyed John's segments and enjoyed listening to the information he provided. And they were asking us to make sure that John comes on again soon. And believe me, that's going to happen.
Yes, it is. Well, Dave, this next segment's been something I've been trying to get to ever since we first saw their display up at the Indianapolis show in 2020, February 2020.
Yeah.
Many episodes ago at this point, we did a segment kind of tagging along to this On the Bench segment on model manufacturers. We kind of parsed through the current state and prior history of U.S.-based model makers, model kit manufacturers. And we kind of discovered doing that many of the ones that are left, well, there's not many for starters, so that's probably the wrong way to say it. But of the few that are left in the United States, almost all of them deal in nostalgia. They're either doing follow-ons to the old Aurora line with some of the subjects that never got done in those, famous monsters and things like that, or they're doing all the classic car kits, all the old space and concept models. And this manufacturer is no exception. This is Atlantis Models out of New York, and we've got a little interview here with Peter Vetri, the president of Atlantis Models. So let's have a listen.
Well, Dave had a little trouble yesterday, and Peter Verdi's come back. Peter's with Atlantis Scale Models. Peter, sorry about the little gaffe yesterday, but we appreciate you tolerating us once more and have another shot at this.
No problem.
Again, Peter's from Atlantis Models, and you're based out of New York, right?
Yep, Deer Park, Long Island. Yep.
All right. Well, tell us a little bit about Atlantis.
So Atlantis was founded in 2009. Originally, how I got into the hobby business was I was a co-founder of the company called megahobby.com, and that was started in 2000. And we really wanted to get into manufacturing when we first started to get into the hobby business, but it was cheaper to have an online retail business. Sure. Manufacturing was very expensive. So we started Mega Hobby, and we grew the company, and it started out in the basement like most things do, and then it finally grew into a big warehouse we were in. And then in 2013 we had someone offered to buy it, and we sold the company, and then we just solely focused on the Atlantis Toy and Hobby, the manufacturing side of the business. So there was a point in 2009 or 2013 we had both of them at the same time, which difficult to have both.
Sure.
Wasn't doing enough on either end, so it was nice now to finally just focus on Atlantis.
Where did the name Atlantis come from?
It's kind of a magical, mysterious place, and we really it kind of came from that song by Donovan.
Okay.
It's remember the movie Goodfellas?
Oh yeah.
Stomping on Billy Batts' head, and that song's playing in the background. We kind of like that, But it's kind of mysterious, and we just liked it. We wanted to have something with the letter A, tribute to like Aurora, and
Sure.
So, yeah.
That's rather Queens sounding.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's where it happened.
Well, we'd done a segment way back at the beginning where we went through what had happened to the American kit manufacturers and who ended up with who now and who owns what and what these things have distilled down to. And one thing that came out of that was how much the American makers, Atlantis, and folks like, I don't know where they're making their kits, but Polar Lights and
right. Mobius,
Act 2 or what? Round 2.
Round 2.
All this stuff is so rich in the model kit nostalgia
Yeah, it sure is.
And did you have any tie to that, or is there any reason it ended up there for Atlantis versus Japanese airplanes or pickup trucks or whatever?
Well, to go back a little, so just so your listeners know, back in 2018, we purchased a lot of the old tooling from Revell, and we can really put out what we have the tooling for, and most of the stuff we have the tooling for is really those vintage kits from the 50s and 60s and 70s. So all of that stuff just, it all just ties in. And yeah, we're in the nostalgia business. We're in the, the memory business, getting.
How did you all acquire those old molds?
Well, what happened was Hobbyco, who had owned Revell at the time, and they owned Estes Rockets. They owned Great Plains Distributing. They were probably the biggest hobby company in the United States. I think they had over 800 employees, I'm pretty sure. And January 10th of 2018, which January 10th is my birthday, so it was they filed for bankruptcy, and we were like, wow, it was, and we kind of knew things were going a little crazy because we had sold to Great Plains, and payments were getting a little bit longer to come in, so that's always your first sign, you always say, okay,
60 days, 90 days.
Yeah, 60 turned into 90, and so we kind of knew something was happening, but we didn't know to what extent. So long story short, they filed for bankruptcy, and then they were going to have an auction on all the assets. They put everything into blocks, and we had contacted them, and we signed all these non-disclosures so we can get all the information of what they're auctioning, and that's how we really found out about all the molds that were really there. And we tried to raise some capital to get it. It wasn't quite enough, so they had an auction, and this company, Blitz, had purchased Revell in Revell, Germany. This other guy purchased Estes, and they're doing great now. And then a couple of months later, after that purchase, we got a call from my friend Ed Sexton at Revell, and he said, there's a lot of molds here. They either want to scrap them or sell them. Are you guys interested? And we were like, so we went from completely being dejected because we knew it'd be great to get them for a company to saying, wow, yeah, we want them. So we really, you're kind of buying them sight unseen. You can't just go down and open every one to inspect. It doesn't work like that.
No, they're big and heavy.
They're big and heavy. So
they just want to get rid of them. They want you to take everything off their hands.
So it's, the deal was, you had to pay for it all, buy it all, no cherry picking, and you had to get it out by a certain date, which I think then was like August 15th or something. And yeah, we went down to Elk Grove Village. That's where they all were, and that's how we got them all, and we got a lot.
By weight, how much were all those molds?
Over 400 tons. And we shipped them up by rail car. And I was telling you, some of these molds that were made by Aurora, and when Monogram had purchased Aurora from Nabisco in the late 70s, they went on a rail car right to Illinois, and now they're coming right back to Long Island. And some of them are still on those original pallets, still never touched.
Mm-hmm. So how many individual kit molds were in that
there's
lot
probably
that you bought?
There was probably close to 1,000 individual molds of all different sizes. Okay. Some molds are small, they weigh 30 pounds. Some of them, the biggest one I think we had weighed 2,800 pounds. Some of those big what molds were really big? Some Monogram was interesting because they packed that's why you see like a Monogram car kit. Everything's on one mold, and then there's one, they shoot it, and then they always cut off the chrome parts because they have tabs on them. Right. You always notice those chrome parts are in the same color as the rest of the kit. I mean, if you look closely, you can find the tabs where they dug them. Where Revell, they pretty much had the cars, and then they had a separate, called a unit chrome holder, and that was just for the chrome parts. They were separate. They weren't there. So each company did things a little bit differently. But yeah, there's a lot of molds, and they make hundreds of kits in the end.
Now, many of those molds, 40, 50 plus years old, what kind of shape were they in when you all got them?
Yeah, very done with a lot of quality, really high quality steel, beryllium copper. Most of them, we had one that we opened up, P39. Some water must have got in. You can actually strip right down the middle, and it creates this pitting. So we had to go. Really, that one, you have to remove metal to get that out. Because if it's surfaced on the model, you got to take away from the mold. It's the opposite. But overall, they've been in pretty good shape. We've added some parts here to make them better, like making new clear parts for things that never had them, like the white gas truck. For some reason, they didn't make clear parts for that back in the 50s. Like they must have, got a little cheap on those. So
Sure.
we said, all right, let's make it better. Let's add our own clear parts, and we did. But overall, the molds have been in really good shape.
That's great.
Really good shape. Yeah, really. As long as you see that grease in there, that's the key.
That's a good sign. That's
That's
what I
a
told
good
him last
sign.
night.
Yeah.
And there's so many companies like, I know probably Johan and a lot of those old companies, I'm pretty sure a lot of molds were, kept outside over the years. And, really Revell, they really kept it all good. You got to,
That's amazing.
away from the weather, from the weather. You don't even want to keep them because we had some, when we moved them to Deer Park, we had kept a couple just by the garage door, and we were seeing already like there was rust forming on the outside just from that cold air and dampness coming in. So we have them, we moved them all. So you have to be, you have to keep them. You have to keep them really away from the elements.
Just out of curiosity, do you have any tool making background at all? Or
No.
No?
None. I've
That's
been learning about it every day.
Now, do you all do your own injection on the molds? I mean,
Yeah, we have a couple of factories that we use here in the States, but we did open up our own Dynamic Plastics is the name of it. That's just 2 doors down from us in Deer Park. And now we're doing that. We still have another guy in Illinois who does molding for us. He does a great job. The thing is, with a lot of the stuff we left in Illinois is because the chromer is down there.
Okay.
Chroming parts.
It's a nasty job.
It's not a lot. We can't. No one even does it in New York. You can't even do it. So we had to. A lot of the car stuff we had to kind of leave down there because the chromer's down there. So it just makes it easier to do it. But yeah, we are doing so. We do all of our planes up in New York, all of our tires that we have. A lot of the kits that don't need chrome, we kind of move those molds to New York, and that's what we do up there. And we did get. I know I was telling you about machines, the quality of machines. That makes a big difference in how your parts come out in the molds. The better quality machine, the better quality hips you use, which is high impact polystyrene, the better parts you're going to have coming out of that mold.
How has the cost control been for raw materials here lately? 'Cause gas is high and plastic's high.
Everything's gone up. Yeah, everything has gone up. I think, you see that across from the supermarkets to everything. When we started, the hips was $1.10. I think now it's $1.49.
Mm-hmm.
Shrink wrap, that goes to wrap the kits in, that went up 15 to 20%. And the toughest thing has just been the boxes. A lot of the paper mills are really backlogged with getting paper out to, it used to take, when we started, it was like about 4 weeks, 5 weeks. Now it's about 12. So we had to actually find other people to print boxes, and that's an added cost because every box you have to make a die for,
right.
And so you're not going to move your dies from box place to box place. So that's an added. So every time you find a new guy, you need him to print boxes, you have to make a whole new set of dies. But you have to do it. You can't sell anything without a box.
Well, I'm seeing your stuff a lot of places, not just at shows, hobby shops, retail stores. What's your distribution like now?
Distribution's great. When you have a line where you have a nice variety and selection, you have your ships, your planes, your cars, your tanks. It makes it a lot easier to get into some more mainstream kind of stores. But we're always, as an industry, we're always fighting for more shelf space.
Yep.
Like if you're, if you're looking online, you type in plastic models, you'll find whatever you want.
Sure.
It's all there. However, if you're driving or you're walking down a street, in your neighborhood, you probably won't run into them. You won't see them as many places. There's just not a lot of, especially, there's really not many department stores. Target and the stores that are big, they really don't have a big selection of models, especially if you want any paints or any of this stuff you see here, you'll never find it.
Yeah.
That's what good hobby shops are for.
Do you plan on doing any new molding, new design, new kits, completely new?
Definitely. We have made new, prior to buying these molds, we did make, we had black bear, we had the American black bear, the bison, that was all. We did a few UFOs, that was all new tooling that we did.
Okay.
Now, we're going to do some, besides, making clear parts and tires and things we need to complete models. We're
Right.
going to do, you have to do that because you're kind of 90% there. That guy's got a Snoopy. I think I'd like to do like the Edmund Fitzgerald. I'd love to do a 1/600 scale kit of that. We're also going to be making some parts for custom cars, these Keyless Customs that we're doing. So we'd want to make some new seats and some engines and maybe a new body for things. So yeah, we're definitely going to be putting our mark on it with
So
some new stuff.
Do you all contract out the mold making itself?
Yes, we don't do that.
Okay.
That goes to there's normally a guy that we have who kind of designs it on the computer, CAD
Right.
files and stuff, and then from there we kind of go to the 3D printing phase, which is great. It's changed a lot,
Yeah.
It really changed everything from that standpoint, where you can say, okay, you can just 3D print it, then tweak it, go tweak the file, rather than in the old days they would kind of make the mold and then put it in and say, oh, we got to,
rework
it
the
was a
mold.
lot
Yeah.
more work. It was a lot more work. So the 3D printing really came in big for us that way. So that's kind of the way you do it. And once you get it right, then you just kind of go to cut steel, or in some cases you can use aluminum now. It's cheaper, and it's not like you need to get 1 million units out of these things. You're not going to, you're not going to sell that many. But
Sure.
aluminum's come a long way too, as far as mold making.
Well, Peter, thanks for stopping by again for a second time.
No
And,
problem.
We got it this time. I really wanted to get you on because I've really been following your company. I wish you all success.
Yes, thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you. Take
got
care.
it.
Peter Vetri from
Okay.
Atlanta Scale Models.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Well, to let folks happen with some of the front end jokes on that segment. We had a little gaffe the first time we recorded with Peter, and he was gracious enough to come by for a second take, and he knew, like we did, that the second take may not be as good as the first, but I think it turned out all right, and we really appreciate Peter coming by and having a talk with us. That was pretty interesting, Dave. I've never really talked to anybody like that.
As people who have listened to all our episodes know, I have a fascination with the business end of modeling, with the how distribution and manufacture works, what the economies are like, what drives decisions over what kits to make and release. And it was really interesting to hear from him the perspective of an actual steel die manufacturer and injection molder.
Yes, it was, and I've got some experience too injection molding, but they're doing some neat stuff, and a lot of it's the old classics. And I've got one of their kits in the stash. I'm probably going to pick up that Cheyenne helicopter before it's over with. I know it's an old Aurora kit, but it's one subject they've got that really interests me.
Yep, you and a lot of other people.
Oh yeah. Well, Dave, we got a new segment.
Uh-oh. What could have brought on a new segment?
Wagons ho for Omaha.
Wagons ho for Omaha.
In 331 days, Dave, the wagons roll for Omaha and the 2022 National Convention. Not even a year away.
I am so proud of you for having done the count. I was wondering if you had actually done it. And the reason that it's much less than 365 is that Omaha's holding the contest July 20 to 23rd. So almost 3 weeks, almost a month earlier than Vegas held it this year. So that means there's not that much longer till we have another Nationals. That's the best news I've heard since getting to go to the last Nationals.
Well, people are already saying we'll see you next year in Omaha. So I guess we got to start right out of the gate here because we're already a month behind.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, we spoke to show chairman Scott Hackney in Las Vegas, and we want to announce that we're going to be working with him and his team to bring you all the latest information regarding this show in the coming months, in the coming remainder of this year. So not a lot to report yet because they were just free to start talking about their show after the 2021 show kicked off in Las Vegas. One thing I'll say, if any of those guys are listening, the URL they have on the card that he gave us is still showing up as available on GoDaddy. So somebody might want to get on that. As soon as it's official, I'll provide the URL, but I'm not going to spout out right now because they may have to change it. You never know.
Exactly.
So expect to hear more from Scott in the future, or a representative that he appoints to handle that. We haven't decided yet how he wants to do it, and expect all the news. You excited yet, Dave?
Yeah, I'm already excited for the Omaha Nationals. Now, keep in mind, I've been to the last two Omaha Nationals, and I know what a great facility it is and what a great job they do there. And, you know, like I said, sometimes people think Omaha, middle of nowhere, etc. It's not. It's a really great setup for our size convention.
And it's a surprisingly metropolitan city for its size and geography.
It is indeed. And I'll tell you what, if you like steak, Omaha is a really nice town to eat out in.
Ooh, kind of like Oklahoma City was.
Exactly.
Well, it's got another thing going for it for us.
Which is
It's on Central Time.
it's got another thing too. We can drive there. It's a 10-hour drive. Last time I attended the Nationals with two of our MMCL club members, and we drove all night to get there. It was fantastic.
That might undo the fact that it's 2 hours closer by time zones.
But it's the Nationals. You don't care what time it is.
Man, I had a blast, but I wonder how much more of a blast I'd had if I wasn't tired.
You survived. You need to start training for Omaha, okay?
I guess I do.
That's right. To be like Rocky. You wake up at like 4 a.m., you couple of raw eggs, and then go out for a run. You're a runner. You go out for a run. You get in shape for it.
I'll give that some thought. I'll take that under advisement.
Yeah, okay. While we were at the Nationals, we got to see somebody that I met 3 weeks ago, or 2.5 weeks ago, really, when I was on vacation at the beginning of August, vacationing in Panama City Beach. Well, through posting pictures on the Facebook page, found out that one of our listeners was local to Panama City Beach, and that allowed us to meet up and talk. And so I got to meet Mark Sprayberry. And it turns out that Mark, modeler and a hobbyist and a figure painter, had just within the last 60 days become a part owner of Sabo Miniatures. And so I got to talk to him about what he was doing and all of that. And then he was out at the Nationals and stopped by our table. So we got to talk to him a little bit more in depth about what he's doing. And hopefully we're going to follow his journey as he moves from hobbyist to hobbyist businessman. Here's a little bit of that.
Well, Dave, we run into your old friend from Florida here.
Yes, we have. How are you doing, Mark?
I'm doing outstanding.
Tell the people who you are.
I am Mark Sprayberry. I am partial owner of Sabo Miniatures, and my other partner is Jim Rice.
Well, when you say partial owner of Sabo Miniatures, you just got into the business end of the hobby very recently.
Yes, I did.
So how did that come about?
Brett called me up one day and said...
Now, who's Brett?
Brett Avance. Him and Jim were the owners of Sabo, and he called me up one day and said, I'm tired. I want to do some more family stuff. So, are you interested? And I said, absolutely.
So that's a pretty big leap to get into the hobby business. You don't have a prior background in it except as being a hobbyist.
Just a modeler.
Okay.
Just a modeler.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Absolutely.
So let me back up. Tell people a little bit about yourself, your history, and how you got into modeling and what you do and all that stuff.
Oh, wow. Man, I started modeling. My dad was in the Air Force, and he got stationed in Hawaii. And I think my very first kit him and I put together was I want to say it was an Aurora kit. I don't remember exactly what it was. I think I was about maybe 7, 8 years old, and it just exploded from there. The typical kid. Earned my allowance, cutting grass, shoveling snow off the driveway, and then
In Hawaii?
no, not in Hawaii, because he was stationed in Arkansas. So
Okay.
So I'd cut grass and shovel snow there, and I'd spend my money at the PX buying models and such.
Well, what genre models did
I
before
was
you got into figures?
Mainly, what my end was mainly 32nd scale aircraft, World War II, World War One, and then I kind of got out of that, got more into the air racers,
Okay.
and did a little bit of that. Then strictly right into 24 scale World War One.
Okay.
That's what I love the most, the larger scale. Frank Mitchell actually got me into going into that more or less. So, and then did a deployment to Iraq, and came back, and I don't know if it's the PTSD, if it's the instant gratification, but somebody actually pushed me into figures.
Okay.
And said, hey, why don't you try it? So I tried it, and
Hooked ever since, huh?
Yep, ever since. So,
Well, we're at the Nationals, and that's why we really want to get you over here, get your take on the show, because we're going to have you back on again for a little more full-blown talk about Sabo miniatures. What do you think, man? You got here about the same time we did, I think. And
yeah, wow. These guys have done a fantastic job considering the situation we're all in. Couldn't ask for a better show, really.
Now, you had a little fiasco with your suitcase at the airport.
Oh, yeah.
Were your entries in there?
No, thank you, God. No, I actually hand carried those on the aircraft, but
Okay.
I did have two of our busts that we were going to donate to the raffle. Since coming into the company late, I had already talked to Joe Porcher about it, and he said, "Yeah, if you'll just bring them with you, and I'll get with you." So I did, and that's what I had in my suitcase. And we get off the airplane, get to the carousel. We're waiting. There's 2 bags on the carousel, and they just keep going round and round. So I just went over to the airlines, the suitcase thing, and talked to them. And they said, "Well, we'll look for it." I went down and went outside, sat down, and then about 30, 40 minutes later, I went back inside. Okay, any word? Nope. And then a phone call came in, and I heard her say my last name. So that's going to trick the spidey senses on the back of your neck. So I said, "I'm that guy." And she said, "Oh, some lady just got to the hotel. She noticed that she's got your bag, and she's on her way back."
Thankfully.
Well, yeah, because that doesn't happen. Most people just...
That's true.
Yep,
Yeah.
so there are still some good people in this world.
What did you bring to enter?
I brought 9 items. 3 busts, and the rest of them are figures.
Okay.
So a Spartan figure, Confederate soldier, Viking.
You're all over the place.
I'm all over the place. I brought one of our figures that I had just finished back in February or March, 90 millimeter Continental guy. So
You must have a lot of reference books.
I have a few. I have a few, and I know people.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's
man.
the key.
Hey man, tell me how.
I looked at the figure and bus categories. Man, they are crowded.
They are. There are some talented people.
Yeah.
A whole lot of talented people. I'm kind of worried.
You'll be all right.
Yeah.
It's the experience. It's not the
No,
whether or not you win an award.
No, absolutely. This is the first time I've actually entered a figure into the Nationals.
Really?
Yeah. So the last couple of times it had been mainly aircraft.
Okay.
30
So
seconds ago.
how many nationals have you been to? Do you know?
Let me see. Atlanta. I went to Atlanta. I'm trying to remember if Atlanta was, because I got out of active duty.
I can tell you when Atlanta was.
5. I think didn't they have one in 97?
They had
Atlanta,
Yeah.
92 or 3.
Okay.
and then 2005.
And then okay, so I did go to 2005, and I went to South Carolina. I went to Chattanooga. But that was only a day or so there.
So you've been spoiled by some good conventions.
Oh,
man.
absolutely. And this is my first West Coast.
Yeah.
It's all been on the East Coast.
Yeah.
So I did want to go to what was that one in Virginia Beach?
Yes.
Hamptons. I wanted to go to that one. I had plans to go, but I wasn't able to.
Yeah.
Well, are you having fun?
I'm having a blast.
All right. Well,
Spending more money than I need to.
Now, would you do me a favor and tell everybody who's listening that Yes, indeed. David was right. This is the best 4 days of your year.
How much you can pay me?
Okay.
No, it is. It is amazing. These guys have done great. There's plenty of things around here to see and eat and what have you. So
Tell them how to find Sabo Miniatures.
SaboMiniatures.com. You can also check us out on the Facebook page.
Since we have some hillbillies in the audience, spell the word Sabo
Oh my gosh.
and miniatures.
You're asking a guy from Georgia to spell. Okay, I have to write this down. SABOT Miniatures.
Gotcha.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, no
Thank
problem.
you.
No
Thanks for
problem.
stopping by. Get out there and buy something.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the deals. Hey, it's Saturday around noontime. The deals are starting to really happen.
Yes, they are. I've seen quite a few people, last day, 50% off.
There's
whatever.
a bunch of 50% off high-end
Yes.
tank kits over
If
there.
you ain't if you're not here, yeah, you've missed out.
Yeah.
You really have.
All right. Well, thanks again, Mark.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank
Take
you.
care.
Hey, no problem.
Bye-bye.
Well, Dave, that's funny that you managed to meet up with him twice now in the span of 3 weeks.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And he's a great guy. It's really, really fun. And that is one of the things I've learned from getting to meet all our listeners at Las Vegas was how we all have this common bond in modeling, and it's kind of like we all speak the same language to begin with, and it just makes an instant friendship, an instant connection.
This next segment was ended up being kind of a coincidence the way it came about. Out in the kind of hallway or corridor between the vendor room and the model room, there were some tables set up for folks who weren't really doing retail business, but they had a message or organization or whatever, or a podcast. I think the Model Geeks were out there.
The Model Geeks were out there.
And there's a gentleman set up out there manning a space-related information table, and his name was Ed Baroth. And we stopped by because he had some big NASA stickers, and we got some space swag from Ed. I gave him one of those stickers from my employer that had been up and back to the ISS, the one that's got the re-entered the Earth's atmosphere at Mach 25 stickers.
Yeah.
Which we send up and get back to give out for kind of the novelty of it. Really made his day. He really got excited about that. Well, anyway, we were in the model room later, and I spied a couple of really sharp pre-war yellow wing airplanes, a Brewster Buffalo and a Vindicator. And I just thought they were exceptionally well done. Now,
They were.
knowing folks love to talk about their models, I had made up some little table invite tickets like Fine Scale Modeler does when they want to photograph your model to hopefully get them to come by the table and talk about their model. Well, in this case, the modeler did, and it just happened to be Ed again. So that kind of worked out.
It did.
So
It did.
So we had a little conversation with Ed about the painting of his yellow wings, and it turned out he also did a 30-second. Those two were 48 scale, and he'd also done a 30-second scale Kitty Hawk models Kingfisher as well. Also was a yellow wing, and it was fabulous too. So,
Mike, do you know anybody who might have acquired or be in the process of acquiring such a kit?
that would be me. So I enjoyed that conversation a lot, and it reminds me I need to check the Hong Kong tracking on my package. I don't know when I'm ever going to get it. Well, anyway, here's our conversation about Ed and letting him talk about his models.
Sitting next to me is a gentleman named Ed Baroth. Baroth. Okay. And the reason I got Ed over here is I was out on the model room floor last night, and I noticed two yellow wing kind of pre-war Brewster Buffalo, and what was the other one again?
Vindicator.
A Vindicator. And the reason I wanted to look at this, first, they're both beautiful. I love those schemes. In fact, I just bought a set for Kingfishers. These aren't yellow wings, but they're early Kingfishers. Yeah. Yellow is a difficult color to manage for a lot of people. Those airplanes, the color is a good color of yellow, and it was put down excellently. Are there any tips you could give the listeners because we get people talking about yellow all the time. Do you undercoat it with a different color, a white or anything first, or what types of paint do you use? Just tell me what you can tell me about it.
Okay, I use, for that yellow is Gunzi Sanyo, the acrylics.
Okay.
I like that they have a very good yellow color that Tamiya doesn't quite have it. It catches it very nice, and it's acrylic. And no, I don't pre-prime that. I just take my time and light coats.
Okay, so you
like
build it
other
up
things.
slowly.
And the reason I think it comes out so interesting is because most people then leave it. They don't touch it.
Okay.
This is after I paint it. I wash it with oils,
Okay.
and that gives some depth to it.
Now, you're talking about the weathering colors or yellows? On
No,
top
the
of it?
weathering colors.
Okay, because the weathering on the wings was very subtle, and it really made the whole thing pop. You can see the streaking on it, and
Right.
I commend you. I've got a couple of kingfishers I want to do that are yellow wing, and
I did that one also. By the way, the 30-second
yes,
Kingfisher
yes,
yellow
that's
wing.
yours too.
That's mine
Yeah. Okay. Well, fantastic job.
too. I did one a couple of years ago, and it did very well in Phoenix in 2018.
Okay.
And for some reason, I just kind of fell into it, and I had that, and I did that. And that Vindicator is actually in Fine Scale Modeler
Okay.
in November, I think, of last year.
I'll have to go back and look.
So yeah,
I probably saw it, but I didn't make the connection.
So that Vindicator was that. I love accurate miniatures,
Okay.
and the combination I encourage. In fact, that was the whole point of the article for Fine Scale Modeler, was that I really liked. I did the Kingfisher in 32nd,
Right.
and then I said, I want to see if I can carry that to 48th. So that did the Vindicator, and I had spoken to Fine Scale Modeler, and it came out very nice. And then I also kind of pitched to them, the trouble with the Vindicator is that it's a hard kit to find,
Okay.
and it's a kind of fidgety. It's old accurate miniatures, but the scheme is really nice. And then I said, well, why not try it on an obvious kit to find, like the Buffalo? It's a Tamiya Buffalo. You can find it anywhere pretty
Right.
much. It's a simple, basic kit, and so it's a perfect kit to do that scheme on for those people who kind of like that scheme. And
As a first one.
as a first one.
Yeah.
As opposed to the Vindicator, like I said, is a very finicky kit.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard to try a new scheme on a hard kit
Yes.
for the first time.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you can easily get the Tamiya anywhere, and it's just, and I built it out of the box. I added a zoom, cockpit
Okay.
set. That's about it. And other than that, it's built in. It's closed cockpit. It's easy, and it fits together real well. And it's a good kit to practice that scheme on. And people like it because it's that combination of the metal
And the color.
and the color. And I dull it with Tamiya flat
Okay.
on the yellow.
That's
Because
probably key too, because it helps your shading and
yes, it does. Because I find the Tamiya is just slightly semi-glossish. When I really and for that I can also compare it to when I use the Gunzy flat, like for the black.
right.
So you can do that. You can get full flat on the black
Uh-huh.
versus almost flat,
flat
on the
yellow.
wings
Okay.
versus kind of shiny on the aluminum. It's eye catching.
It's eye-catching. Yeah, it is. Well, that's why I put my tag down next to him and got you over here. Well, talking about finicky kits, I've got 2 of those Kingfishers coming to me from Hong Kong.
The Kitty Hawk.
Yeah.
Okay, call me. I actually did, for my local club, I did stuff where I redid some of the instructions. The instructions are horrible.
Okay.
On the kit.
Well, I've got another gentleman's build guide for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I would be happy to send you my notes on it.
Oh, fabulous. Well, you gave me your information. Thanks.
Because I can certainly tell you every pin is bigger than the hole that it goes into.
And I knew this going into it, but when Kitty Hawk went out of business, I went out and looked for 2 real quick, and I got them for like $60 a piece.
It's just
It builds up beautiful, but you just got to get there.
what the key is really the construction plan.
Okay.
In other words, you can't follow their instructions.
That's what the other gentleman was saying. He said you can't build it because you'll break crap off.
It's the dumbest idea I've ever seen. They, you've heard of the KISS principle.
Yes.
Of keep it
Simple, stupid.
Okay. Their instructions ask you to take every sub assembly in the inside the cockpit and put them all together, and then put it inside the cockpit and put it together. Why would you do that when you can put each individual subassembly into the cockpit, make sure it fits? Okay, why would you connect a whole bunch of stuff, make it bigger than it needs to be?
Right.
That and they just the way they want you to put stuff together requires you to rethink it all.
Wow. Okay.
Especially the engine.
Yeah.
And stuff. They have you put stuff in the, and I don't remember because it's been a long time, but I can send you the if you give me your information, I can send you my notes.
Okay.
Which tell you, especially for the engine, they have you do dumb things. They have you put stuff out on that before you do that. It's constant that way.
Okay.
That
well, if a couple of good people have vetted it out, maybe I can get through it without too much trouble. Because I'm a tank builder for the most part.
I mean, the funny thing is, the big parts all are fine.
Okay.
It's all the little parts that need work.
All right. I'll keep that in mind, and I appreciate the help you're willing to offer. But thanks for stopping by.
Oh, my pleasure.
And good luck out in the model room when the awards start getting passed out.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to go look at that Kingfisher again now that I know you built it. Okay.
Yes.
Thanks a lot.
Sure. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, Mike, that was fascinating. I happened to be out and about when that interview occurred, so I'm getting to listen to it with the rest of the listeners, and I think that's fantastic. Again, if you get somebody talking about their model, most people, you can get them to talk and you learn all sorts of stuff. What did you think?
Well, I did learn a lot, and I made a contact that's going to let me learn a lot more because Ed took my address, and I've also got his email and his phone number. He's offered to send me his build notes for that aircraft, the Kitty Hawk kit, because it's got some notorious hangups.
Yes,
and
it does.
I think a tank guy's going to need all the help he can get.
Hey, after that, what you did with the Paul, I'm confident that you can conquer that Kitty Hawk.
I think the Paul had as many parts as one of the engine cylinders on that Kitty Hawk 32nd scale Kingfisher.
That's probably that's probably true. But hey, we all got to start somewhere.
Well, Ed, if you're listening to this, thank you for your offer, and I'm going to do my best to take you up on it.
Mike, I almost hate to mention this next segment,
but everybody wants to hear it, so we kept it in.
Okay. So, Mike, what broke your wallet?
Food.
True enough. Folks, casino food is not as cheap as you might have been led to believe.
Unless you're from the West Coast.
Yes.
Maybe. Anyway, the joke is, it's not a joke, it's funny. Between the arrival on Friday, between arrival time on Wednesday through dinner on Thursday, I had spent more on food than in the vendor room, and we skipped lunch.
Yes, absolutely.
Every day we skipped lunch because we had a huge breakfast.
And a huge dinner, which was the way to do it, man.
But nobody wants to hear that.
So what broke your wallet?
Well, a Russian representative from Master Club Tracks was there, selling his tracks at a nice show price, and that coupled with not having to pay shipping or even sales tax if you buy them on eBay. I picked up 2 sets
at a substantial savings.
Two sets of Master Club tracks at a substantial savings. I got a set for the Stalinets STZ5 artillery tractor, which is a kit our good friend Ian McCauley found me up in Canada, and the T-50 infantry tank. I got a set for that one too. Surely that's not all you bought. That is not all. The folks there at Value Gear, somebody there was blowing out some stash, looked like, and the guys from the posse were sitting up next to them at their table and showed me something. Said, "Man, you got to buy this. It's cheap." Well, I didn't want that one, but I dug through the stash, and there was a German SWS tractor, half track there with a 3.7 centimeter Flak 43 on it. It's the unarmored version. It's a little bit harder to find because I don't think who has these now. Hobby Boss or Trumpeter picked these up. I think that's right. This is one of the great wall boxings, the original boxings, and it's the one I wanted. I had one of the other SWSs, and I sold it at one of our shows a few years back. But and I was actually going to convert it to this one, but they released this one, so I sold my original one, and I picked this one up for about $30. What else did I buy, Dave? I bought a set of decals you put me on. From who made those? I can't remember. I don't have them in front of me.
An old Aeromaster sheet. We were both standing at the Rare Plains Detective set of booths, and he had old decals in boxes that you have to page through. And I found an old Aeromaster sheet for Kingfishers. And that sheet, of course, because Aeromaster's long gone, that sheet's long gone. And given your predilection for Kingfishers, I turned you on to that one.
Well, I appreciate it. And then finally, I bought a few things I didn't tell you about.
Uh-oh, you were holding out on me.
On the last day, there's a guy there selling mostly miniatures. And he actually had some vintage kind of Dungeons and Dragons fantasy figures. They're all 30-something years old, still in the blister packs. I dug around. He was pulling them out, showing me other ones he had. And I ended up with a stack of about four or five items, and it added up to X. And I said, "How much for the stack?" And he mulled it over a minute and then gave me a number that was X divided by 2. One of those last day deals.
Yes.
$20. I don't need to be facetious or secretive about it. It was $40 and it went to 20 without him even trying. So that was a no-brainer.
I will tell you, one of the things I did notice about this show is on Saturday, many of the vendors started discounting more heavily than I've seen at past nationals. So there were deals to be had.
So that's what I got. I don't think there's anything else. I did have another kit I picked up, but that was a gift from one of our friends.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, what about you, man? I saw you spending money.
Yes, I did. Well, first things first, when Mr. Bates arrived from Tacoma, he did not arrive empty-handed. He had purchased some kits from Airfix, and he brought me a 72nd scale Avro Vulcan, the new kit, and the new Bristol Beaufort, as well as a book that he wanted to lend me. So that started the ball rolling. Let's see. I purchased a Special Hobby KI-54 Hickory and a Special Hobby ME-109 E3. Speaking of the E3, I ran into Barry Numerick in the model room, and he graciously offered, when I get ready to build that one, to give me some hints and tips, because while it's a really good kit, it's apparently, not, to me, a fall together easy. I bought some B-52 decals in 72nd scale. I have plans for B-52s, and so I wanted to get those. I bought and you and I talked about this vendor. There was a guy there who was manufacturing a variety of stuff, but 35th scale World War I artillery, 72nd scale early war tanks, bunches of stuff. And he had a 72nd scale German World War I refueling cart in 72nd scale, and they came 2 to a pack. And the thing about his stuff is it was all 3D printed. Now, there are a lot of folks out there who will print a 3D master and then mold it and then use that mold to make resin copies. But that's not what this guy was doing. He was actually printing 3D items and selling the 3D items directly for sale. And the stuff is pretty delicate and really nice. So I had to pick up one of those refueling carts. Then I picked up 4 books. Somebody had purchased a really, really good aircraft reference library, probably from an estate. They were selling them, and they were selling them very, very much under face value. I basically picked up 4 books, each of which would have run anywhere from $49.95 to $69.95, and I paid $10 for each of those. Trying to remember if there's anything else I bought. My dilemma, and of course it's the dilemma whenever you fly, is that I was constrained by space, especially since I had that big Avro Vulcan to get back. It meant that I had to be very careful with kit purchases, or I'd end up with no room. But managed to get everything in, and when I got back home, I had a final thing because I had purchased off of eBay a set of 72nd scale resin ejection seats for the TU-128 from some vendor in Riga, Latvia. And those had come in while I was gone. So I got those and opened them up, and they're beautiful, really nice. I do have some wondering about whether or not these are the original manufacturer's produced items, or if they are repops, simply from the fact that they did not come in the original manufacturer's packaging. But in any case, they're very, very nice, and I can't wait to get working on those.
Well, I think given our travel limitations, we did pretty good. A little restrained. I've certainly spent more at a Nats, but
Yeah, we were selective. We targeted.
we did, and I'm pleased with what I got. And I don't really have any regrets about anything I passed up, because most of the things I passed up I can get pretty easily. So I was trying to look for things I couldn't get so easily.
The one thing I have a minor regret passing up is that one vendor who was blowing out the 35th scale kits at half price, and that British Mark IV tank in 35th scale. If I had had the room, I might have picked that up.
The TACOM stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, that was a pretty good deal. Same. There's one there. I might have, maybe that one. I don't know, but I just didn't have any room.
Yep, me too.
Because that all the podcast equipment, a suitcase, a backpack, and my model.
Yeah, yeah. We were traveling pretty heavy.
Well, I want to get him on the show at some point. The guy making the 3D print stuff, because I know currently that's kind of been the buzz post show. 3D printing, not necessarily his stuff, but and where that falls as far as contests and things like that. It's kind of an interesting hot potato right now.
Yep.
And we're going to tackle that a little bit more in an upcoming episode. Talk about 3D printing and what we think about it. We'll save that for a different time. Our last segment from the show is our final parting words with IPMS National's show chairman Bob Lomasaro from Las Vegas chapter there, and kind of our farewell with him and a little show recap from him. And let's see what Bob had to say on the last day of the show. Well, Dave, it's the last day of the show. Awards are tonight, and it's been an absolutely blast of a time, and we've got show chairman Bob Lomasaro with us one more time before this is all over with. Bob, thanks for coming by the table.
Thanks so much, guys. It's a pleasure to be here as always.
We've had a blast. You've done a fantastic job with this show. Nobody knew what to expect. I think it's gone off from our end without a hitch. If anything went on, nobody knew about it.
Thank you so much. Again, the credit goes out to my guys. They just did a fantastic job. They've been working really hard. Thank you. Our main goal here was to provide a really good show for our guests and attendees, and I'm happy to see that everybody's having a good time.
Yes. Bob, I want to tell you, again, I've got a lot of history with the Nationals. This is number 26 for me, and I have never seen a National run more smoothly than this one.
Wow, thanks so much.
Particularly registration, vendor room organization. I know you were scrambling with the models in the model room because, as we probably thought might happen, you had a butt ton of models.
Wow.
And I know, but all of that was seamless. Nobody experiencing the convention as a guest saw anything that didn't look exactly like it was completely planned and completely smooth.
Thank you very much. We've again, it's the guys. It's a team effort, and we came together. A lot of credit. You mentioned registration. I want to do a shout out to all the folks that pitched in at registration. We've got people coming from Omaha, from the Omaha show, and they brought their team in to help on registration. And as you know, they do a dynamite show. They're pretty well experienced, and we had Nancy up there, and and Michael, and they just did a great job, and they added the extra weight and muscle to our guys, and it went really well. I was really pleased. We opened the gates. We had a line up the ramp. There had to be 200 people online, and we opened the door at 10 o'clock, and by 10:45, the line was gone. So it went really well.
We didn't even wait in line.
Yeah, we got here Wednesday evening after everything had closed for Wednesday. We came out Thursday morning, walked right to pre-registration. There's no line. They're handing us packets, and bing, bang, boom. And your people were very organized. Before they just handed you the packet, they opened it up. They triple checked to make sure everything that was supposed to be in there was in there, and that makes happy convention goers.
Now, what you should have been here is between 8 in the morning and 10 in the morning when we closed, because it was just the opposite going on up there. It was mass chaos, a lot of excitement, a lot of perspiration. But by 10 o'clock showtime, the gates were ready to open, and the team just went, like a well-oiled machine.
Now, I don't know how often it happens at nationals, but you talked up the raffle on our last episode. But one thing you didn't say that was a surprise to me was the pick your own prize.
That was a neat twist.
Yeah, one of the things that we've always gotten a lot of compliments on is the way we run our raffles at our annual, Best of the West show. My raffle coordinator is Pete Boucher, and the guy is just the best. And, one of the things that the takeaways is, when you go to other shows, is that you take away things that you don't like as well as things that go really well. And Pete always felt that if you're going to buy a raffle ticket, you want to get what you want, not something that's handed off to you. So it takes a little extra effort. He's got a good team up there as well. He's got his wife and a lot of volunteers, and we really like the way he does that, and I think people like it too. And as a result, to be honest with you, I think we broke record sales and raffle tickets.
It looked like it to me.
Now, we had 4 rolls of raffle tickets, and I don't know how many. There's probably 1,000 in a roll. I'm not an expert on raffle tickets. But we ran out of raffle tickets on Wednesday night and had to go to, I guess, one of the local stores and pick up another 3,000 raffle tickets.
Wow.
That's
a lot of raffle tickets.
Yeah, he does a phenomenal job. Pete is a pro.
That's fantastic. So, let's talk numbers.
Wow.
I have never seen a model room that crowded, especially that crowded that early.
It was like an avalanche of models coming in. And, and the night before, we had set up the room on Tuesday, and we had taken the numbers. We get the average, the budget, it's what they call it, from all the past national conventions, and in that is all the amount of models per category. So we took that and we used that as a layout to lay out our place cards. And I said, okay, I think we're pretty good. We might have to make a few adjustments. Come 9 o'clock, when at that point on Wednesday, at 12 o'clock in the model room, we were already blew past that at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and was scrambling to find more space. So we just took our final count, and this doesn't include, the display room.
Right.
But the final count of models is 3,044.
That's a good number.
That's a real good number.
And
I got my first bonus. My first bonus level was at 3,000. My second bonus level was 4,000, and I missed it. So at 3,000, I got a convention pin, and I'm really happy to have that.
Well,
because they sold out.
And
sold
when you say 3,044 models, there are some entries that are like in the collections more than one, but you're only counting that as one.
No, we counted. Well, see, what I found out, what they do a lot of time is that they'll count, some conventions will count, for example, if a diorama has 2 trucks and 5 figures, they'll count that as 7 models.
Yeah.
We didn't do that.
Okay.
So we counted every individual model. Now, as far as collections were concerned, if there was 20 Shermans, we counted the 20 Shermans. But we left out the display numbers. So there's 850 models in the display room. So we did not count those in our total. But we counted each individual model.
Well, Bob, another thing we want to thank you for is this location in the vendor room we got here. This is absolutely phenomenal. It's been, sound-wise, it's been great. We get a little bit of buzz from the crowd, so everybody knows we're actually doing something from a convention floor. But we wanted to be in the corner. You got us in the corner. and it's been worth
Well,
it
I'm
to us.
glad you like the spot. You know, the reputation is that whenever the Plastic Model Mojo guys go to a show, they get pretty rowdy. So we wanted to stick you in the corner where no one would get hurt.
Okay, well, we appreciate that. I'm sure all the
So this is a
unknown
good
to
spot.
them, the contest attendees probably are grateful too.
Yes, absolutely. Now it's time for you to go relax, and I'm sure
It's Miller time.
it's Miller time for you.
Yeah, we got a long time before that occurs.
I know.
So, as you know, we have our award ceremony coming up. It's at 6 o'clock. Well, it starts at 8. We have to place all the models out on the table. You know,
The
between
awards
4 and
out.
6. And then obviously tomorrow we got to get up, and come down, and clean everything up. So we got a ways to go before we hit Miller time. So what is the drink for today, this weekend? What's going on?
We about drank all our bourbon that we don't plan to take back with us. Is there any beer left in the fridge?
There may be one can. Well, other than the 6-pack for Joe.
Because if
Okay.
I'm not mistaken, I think somebody promised to bring something from Tennessee. What was it that you guys are always drinking?
Oh, we're Gumball Head
Gumball
from
Head,
Indiana, and
Indiana.
that's the 6-pack we have for Joe.
Okay. Well, you guys owe me a can of that because I got to see what that's like.
Maybe we can split between you and Joe.
Joe,
All
there
right.
you go.
That's great.
All right.
Well, I got to, again, before we break up here again, and I always do it, I got to thank you guys for everything you do for not only, you know, the support of our show. You guys have been fantastic for the last couple of months. You pitch it all the time, and you pitch IPMS as a group, and encourage people to join. But again, I think you guys do a great job bringing modelers into the hobby. You know, it's a positive thing, and I think you reach out to people that otherwise are just maybe don't have the ability to have a model club or an IPMS chapter. And
thank you. We
and
enjoy
you
it.
bring them in, and I think you guys do a phenomenal job.
Thank you very
We'd
much.
like to do it all over again for the Omaha guys, but we haven't. We got to talk to them. See if they're up for it.
Well, I'm not paying any commissions, but I would say a good 20% of the people here are here because of you guys and all the other podcasts too. So
Thank you.
I think you blow the hobby up that way that they want to come, and I appreciate that. And I know everybody here does that. You guys do a fantastic job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
You know, Mike, it's been great getting to know Bob and the guys out in Vegas, Joe Porche, etc. You know, they were really, really helpful in helping us promote the show. Also turned out to be a couple of really good guys, and we got to interact with them on a fairly regular basis. And I'm glad it all turned out as well as it did. It was a great nationals, just flat out. But when you consider some of the challenges that they were facing regarding the uncertainties surrounding whether or not they'd even get to have it, it's amazing what they did. And Bob deserves all sorts of credit. Mike, as we come here to the end of the episode, do you have any shout outs?
I've got a lot of shout outs this time, and I bet maybe you do too.
I do.
Well, I'll go first. In the show run-up excitement, last episode, I missed something we always do. I want to shout out all those who've contributed since episode 43, literally up to like an hour ago pre-recording. We got a pretty good list. Mr. Matt Dyer, Christopher Church, Rick Cooper, David Fuller, Drew Savage, Tim Cavalier, Edward Kawahara, and Bob Bear. I want to thank all of you guys for your generosity, and some of you guys stopped by the table even, and I appreciate that even more, getting to meet you all face to face. If anyone would like to join the ranks of these fine gentlemen and help out Plastic Model Mojo, you can do so by going to www.plasticmodelmojo.com and looking for the heart icon in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Take that link to PayPal, and you can make a contribution of your desire there, whatever you want, $0 to sky's the limit. We appreciate all donations, big and small. So these guys are all great. We met many of them at the show, and just thanks a lot. We really appreciate it. It's been really flattering meeting everybody, and it's just gravy on the biscuit.
Yes. And guys, I want to tell you part of the reason we were able to have the table in Las Vegas and have the setup there to do some remote recording is all because of your all's generous donations. We really appreciate you trying to help us make the show better, because that's what we're trying to do, is make it better as we go down the road.
Who's your first one?
My first shout out is when we were talking with Mr. Sprayberry down about Sabo Miniatures. He lives in Panama City Beach, and there's not a current IPMS chapter in Panama City Beach, but he and two or three other guys somewhat locally are trying to get together and put together an IPMS USA chapter. So if there's anybody out there listening who lives somewhere around Panama City Beach, all the way down to Fort Walton, Destin, anywhere east or west of Panama City Beach, and you're a modeler and you want to join a local modeling club, or you're interested in help forming one, please email us at plasticmodelmojo@gmail.com. And if you'll do that, I'll pass that on to Mr. Sprayberry, and hopefully he can put together an IPMS chapter down there somewhere around Panama City Beach. So hopefully you all who are listening be able to do that. We'll be able to get a new chapter formed.
Well, Dave, my next one is for the warm reception I got from your little fraternity there. You guys call yourselves the Septemberists.
That's their nickname, and that's deep in the midst of time. I know. I didn't come along till after they had all gotten that nickname.
Well, regardless, it's all good stuff all around. Some great conversation, not all modeling related, which makes it even all the more interesting, really. Some really interesting stuff. So if those guys are listening, thanks a lot. I enjoyed meeting all of you, and see you again next time, maybe.
Absolutely. They'll be in Omaha, I'll make sure. Well, mine is a related shout out to one of the Septemberists in particular, John Vitkus. Mr. Vitkus went above and beyond the call of duty. He ferried you and I and another one of the Septemberists, Mr. Robinson, to the airport in Las Vegas at dark 30 on Sunday morning. He did not have to do that, and he willingly volunteered to take on that assignment, and that made our life a whole lot easier. So John, if you're listening, thank you from the bottom of my heart. You really did us a solid.
Well, I'll second that because he was next on my list too. And now he's gone above again and realized he's got two of a particular book he thought I might be interested in, and has asked me for my mailing address. So quite the generous man. And it was dark 30. It was like 5 a.m. when we had to roll out. And he didn't have to get up because he's driving home and he could sleep later. Thanks, John.
He did us a super solid.
My next shout out goes to Adam Coleman. Adam is an IPMS member from Texas, I believe, and he's the one who actually started that podcast link thread on the IPMS USA Facebook page that we had some discussion about over the last episode, maybe the one before that too. Yes, over the last two episodes. Anyway, he approached the table, introduced himself, and a nice conversation ensued after that. I said right here on PMM that I had no axe to grind, and I meant that. And it turns out he had a great content idea that really interests me. I'm not going to divulge what that is yet because I'm still kind of investigating the feasibility of how it might work and how we might implement it. But Adam, thanks for coming up to the table, introducing yourself, and having that conversation, because I think you gave us an idea that might be something we could really use. So thank you.
Well, I would like to thank our fellow podcasts, PPP and the Model Geeks, who were both there at the show. We all got together for breakfast one morning. We all got together at a seminar on basically talking about podcasting, and both of those experiences were really great. It was my first time meeting almost all of those people face to face for the first time, and it was a fantastic experience. And they're a really good group of guys. So guys, I enjoyed seeing you and spending time with you, and I'm looking forward to doing it again in Omaha.
Oh yeah, man, that was a blast. And it's just a good time meeting everybody face to face. Frildo about broke my hand though. My God, what a handshake that man has.
Yes, indeed.
And I was even expecting it.
Yeah, because you take one look at him, you do kind of expect that handshake.
That's right. He's not a small guy. He's a tall one. Anyway, you're right, Dave. We had a great time, especially in the little breakout that Scott arranged in the seminar rooms. Some people had some interesting questions. That was a lot of fun. I didn't know how that was going to go down, but I commend Scott for putting that together, and I commend everybody for showing up and participating, because I don't know. I didn't know what to expect, like I said, and I really enjoyed that a lot.
I did too.
In closing, Dave, I want to thank show chairman Bob Lomasaro and vendor chairman Joe Porche and the entire Las Vegas show team. I think given what they were faced with, the uncertainty of the entire situation running up to the show, they did a commendable job, an admirable job pulling off a humdinger of a show. Joe kept that vendor room full despite cancellations. It might look a little different than it might have normally, but there's some really great stuff to look at and buy. Appreciate that, Joe. I hope Bob gave you the beer, because I gave it to him.
Yes, I want to second that. The Las Vegas guys did a great job with the whole show, and they did a great job giving us a really nice location in the vendor room that was conducive to our ability to record interviews and segments like that. And, I'm already hoping that eventually, again, Vegas will do it one more time, because I certainly had fun this time.
All right, Dave. So many kits.
So little time, Mike. See you soon.
All right, man. I'm going to bed.
Don't blame me.
Catch you next time.